and let us all do we can to build a better future.
Let's talk about Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. So yesterday, she did something. She voted on the House floor. She didn't vote no. She didn't vote yes. She voted present for the Iron Dome. So if we can, let's pull up this video of what's happening here. And again, it's a 2-minute video. We'll be playing it. Again, there's no audio in it, but if you listen closely or look in the far corner area, you'll be noticing that Nancy Mama Bear Pelosi is talking down to AOC, waving her hands about. AOC is being consulted. Something is going on. So I want to play that video if we can, just so that people see like the movement that's happening there. And while we're playing that video, I want to read out AOC's tweet. No need to pull up her tweet, but I do have it here. You can check it out in the show notes and description box below. But it's a note to the New York 14th District constituents from Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. She writes out, yesterday the House called to the floor a rushed $1 billion supplemental military funding bill for Israel's Iron Dome defense. I want to be clear with our community that I'm opposed to this bill, but ultimately cast a present vote. My job as your representative is to first and foremost serve with transparency and remain accountable to you, the people of New York's 14th Congressional District. Sounds good on paper. All right, sounds interesting. And again, please notice Mama Bear Nancy is starting to talk down. She's wagging her finger. First, let me begin with why I believe this bill should have been opposed, contrary to popular narrative. This bill is not for U.S. funding of the Iron Dome, as opposing it would not defund U.S. financing of the system in any way, shape, or form. And again, we're getting a word salad here. Since 2011, the U.S. has provided $1.7 billion for the Iron Dome and is already financially committed to continuing these funds through 2028. So somehow we got the money for Israel's Iron Dome, but we can't do Medicare for all. Again, AOC, what is the excuse? You voted present, but why aren't you really pushing back against it? And again, if you look in that video right there, there seems to be a lot of back and forth between Mama Bear and her baby bear cub. Continuing on, this bill adds an additional $1 billion in funding in 1 year to the system alone. For context, this is an amount in 1 year that approaches all the funding to the system we provided over the last decade. And this is in addition to the $3 billion authorized earlier this year in other forms of military funding to the Israeli government. I believe strongly that Congress should take greater scrutiny with all military funding across the world. I also believe that for far too long, the U.S. has handed unconditional aid to the Israeli government while doing nothing to address or raise the present human rights abuses against the Palestinian people, and that this imbalance of power must be centered in any honest conversation about Israel and Palestine. In addition to the many other governments we militarily fund with a pattern of human rights abuses, such as Saudi Arabia, Colombia, and related amendments I introduced last week as well. So again, the rest of this document, this letter, is a word salad, but that doesn't explain why she voted present. So the thing is, she's saying that she's deeply sorry. She's hurt by this. She's saddened by her actions, but it doesn't answer the fundamental question about the show that we saw. And again, I have an interesting article again from RT America with AOC, where she's doing this crocodile tear kind of performance. And we've seen this kind of performance before from AOC. If we can, let's go ahead and pull up that article from RT America. Shh, don't tell Rachel Maddow. Don't tell any of the cul-de-sac progressives that we're using RT America. I know it's so shocking that we're using something that's outside the norm. But at this point in time, let's really address what's wrong with AOC. So, after changing her vote from no to a non-committal present at the last moment, Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez was seen crying as the House passed funding for Israel's Iron Dome missile defense system. The House passed a $1 billion bill on Thursday, replenished Israel's Iron Dome missile defense system, depleted after a week of relentless rocket attacks from Palestinian militants this summer. The funding was originally included in a broader spending bill, but was voted on separately after progressives, including AOC, threatened to scupper the legislation on Tuesday if it remained included. Now, the funding bill was passed by 420 votes, 420. I love that number, but God, I hate that it's used in this point. To 9, with 2 representatives voting present. Despite her earlier opposition, Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez switched her vote from no to present at the final moment. So what happened? The New York Congresswoman was then seen weeping on the House floor and being consoled by fellow Representative Pramila Jayapal, who voted to arm Israel. Again, also, I just want to be very clear that a lot of other progressives voted for this bill as well. See, the thing is, when you are in the Democratic Party, you get corrupted, especially if you're a progressive. So we've seen this performance from AOC not too long ago, especially when Trump was president, where she was crying in front of a parking lot. Yeah, we remember those pictures. AOC could have voted no, but she chose to vote present. Now, that's her opinion. That's something she did, and now she's trying to quickly cover it up because people are calling her out for her hypocrisy. Let's be very clear with what's happening in Israel. It is an apartheid government where there's massive amounts of human rights abuses that are happening there. And AOC, when she first got elected, promised to bring in a ruckus, promised to challenge the political system. But as the days and weeks and months and years went by, we saw her change very quickly to being very supportive to the Democratic establishment, the Democratic Party, posting out feel-good tweets, and saying positive things about Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi. Mind you, again, the reason why Nancy Pelosi is Speaker of the House is because the 15 congressmen and women who were on the forced to vote petition chose not to basically force to vote for Medicare for all. And remember, it's the same AOC that said Biden and his administration are exceeding expectations and that she would give him and his administration an A. We cannot afford to rely on our politicians. When we rely on our politicians, when we rely on people that we agree with or that we're really supportive of, we get blinded by the fact that they are people. Now, I don't know what was going on that floor. Again, with that video that we did see, there's no audio to it. But again, the very fact that in that corner area, you're seeing Ice Cream Nancy in her little pink blouse. If we just pull that video up, we can play it again. There's no audio to it. We do apologize for that inconvenience. But again, as you're seeing it there, there's Ice Cream Nancy with her pink little blouse. And there she is talking down to AOC. And AOC quickly changes that no vote to a present. And then we see that performance art of crying. Progressives in the House. You promised to bring the ruckus, but when you let this decade-old monster known as Nancy, who refuses to fight for the American people, when you let her browbeat you like this, how are you supposed to inspire the rest of the progressive voting base to turn out to vote for you guys if you're not going to stand up to somebody like Nancy? Something was going on in that conversation. Maybe it's all one big act. Maybe it's one big cartoon show and we're all just the suckers there watching it. Stop hero worshiping these politicians. Stop hero worshiping people that you respect on Twitter. All right? Because they're human beings. They're people. You want to know how we can really bring in the ruckus? It's time to start talking about building an infrastructure for a third party. Talking about building an infrastructure towards a true general strike. Now more than ever, it's up to us to lead. And when the people lead, that's when real leaders will follow. No more of this BS. No more of this performance art. And so I think a final note to this, especially to the vote blue, no matter who community, how are you going to inspire voters to turn out in the midterms or either that in the 2024 presidential election cycle? What are you going to do? What kind of fear propaganda are you going to feed us that we haven't heard already? Because as far as I'm concerned, what I'm seeing before us is weakness to the first degree. And I'm tired of being disappointed. It's time for us to move on and break away from the Democratic establishment. Relying on Washington, D.C. is a fool's hope. And I hope all of us see it now. That's why we have to fight for this better future, because our politicians and our lawmakers will not do it for us.